foundation of any database is the data itself. Data is stored in tables, so you can't have a database in Microsoft Access without having at least one table. We've already gone through the design process and figured out what tables we're going to need and what fields we're going to need in each of those tables. So now it's time to get in, create our database, and create our first table. Now, the very first time you launch Microsoft Access, you get the Getting Started screen that we talked about earlier. And you can see I can create a blank database right from this icon here. Now, another option, if you're not looking at the Getting Started screen right now, is to go up to the Office button and click New. And that'll accomplish the exact same thing. You'll create a new blank database from scratch. And as you create your first database, the first table in that database is automatically started for you as well. Now, of course, you can, if you wanted to, start a database from a template. So when we get into the Getting Started screen here, we're automatically looking at the Featured Online templates below our new blank database icon. And if we want to look at our local templates, we can do that by clicking Local. And you can see we've got different templates for assets, one for contacts, events, faculty, and so on. Now, each of these templates is not just a simple database with one table. There may be many tables, there may be some reports built in, even some sample forms. So if you wanted to get a great head start on creating a project like we're going to do with our music library, Assets would probably be the one to start with. But then you'd have to go in and you'd have to tweak each of those tables to have the fields you need for your music library. So what we're going to do is actually just create a new blank database from scratch by going up to the Office button and selecting New. Now, as soon as we do that, you can see we're back to the original Getting Started screen, but over here on the right-hand side, we have Blank Database. Here's where we go to create a Microsoft Office Access database that does not contain any existing data or objects. Remember, objects are reports, forms, tables, and so on. You can see by default it's going to be called Database 1, and you can see exactly where it's going to be saved in the Documents folder. So that's my default. Of course, if I want to change the location, I could by clicking the little folder icon over here and browsing to a location where I want to save this new database. I'm going to click Cancel and just leave it as my Documents folder here. The name I'm going to change from Database 1 to something more meaningful. So I'm going to highlight Database 1 and I'm going to type in Music Library, like so. Now when I click Create, I'm going to create my first database. You can see all there is one table in here that's started. There aren't any fields actually except for this ID field, and it's now time for me to look back at my design documents and figure out what fields need to go into this very first table, and of course I'll give this table a name. That's what we're going to do next.